Hi, friends. Welcome back to my Boomer Buddies podcast, where we tell it like it was and is. I'm Rick Reed. We are back with Boomer Buddy friend Art Dean. Last time we touched on his experiences in Vietnam and the beginnings of his musical interest to get girls and whatnot before Vietnam. And then he came back and it ended up being something that probably helped him keep his sanity. Welcome back, Art.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to you and your progression after Vietnam, coming back to Minnesota to a different world, like you mentioned last time. Am I right? Did music help you cope?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just talking about music and local music, I think I'd been home maybe about 10 days, still in shock. And I ran into a boy from a girl that I knew in high school. And he said, "Well, what are you doing?" Of course, at that time I wasn't doing anything, have anything going on. He says, "Well, we've got to go down to the Labor Temple Friday night." I said, "What's the Labor Temple?" Well, it's a place off of, I think, 3rd Avenue South and University. It's now a Vita School of Beauty. Anyway, so I said, "Well, who's playing?" He said, "Well, a group called Gypsy." And I said, "Who?" He said, "Gypsy." And I said, "Well, who's Gypsy?" And then he started mentioning that, "Oh, that was the Underbeats when I went to Vietnam." So we went down there, and it was a heck of a show. The Labor Temple was an interesting place because there were no seats. There was 2 stages, which was kind of nice, so you could have more than one band, so that one band was playing, the second band could set up. So as a band, they were kind of like an L shaped next to each other. And people would bring pillows and blankets and lean up against the floor and just sit on the floor and listen to the groups. The show opened up with Rick Derringer and Johnny Winter, or Edgar Winter, I'm sorry, not Johnny Winter. Then followed by Albert King, who was kind of a B.B. King double. And then Gypsy came on. And I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there, and I'd never heard him before. I didn't know anything about him. Didn't realize that they'd been in California as a house band at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. So they go to, and this was stuff they'd written. This is all I'd never heard before. And they opened up with a song called, I think it was just called Gypsy Woman or something like that. Morning.
Gypsy Queen, Part 1.
Gypsy Queen, thank you. And it blew me away. I couldn't believe it. And so right away, those kind of first things that kind of, well, the first thing was I said, well, I got to get back into music. And the thing after watching those guys play, I said, well, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, these guys were so good. And the sad thing is, most of them are all gone now. They've all passed away. Jimmy Johnson, James Walsh, who was your good friend, and Tom Nystrom. Tom Green, as his stage name was. Rico Rosenblum. The only guy that I know that's left, and I'm not sure how long he stayed with the Underbeats, and I think he was originally with Gypsy, was Donnie Larson, the bass player, and he is still around. Doesn't want to play anymore, but he's still around.
Yeah, he was at James's memorial at Mancini's a year ago. Yeah. And he made an appearance there, and everybody was glad to see him. So
yeah, he was one of the original Underbeats with Jimmy Johnson, Ray Berg, who I still associate with Ray Berg. Ray and I still get together and jam about once a week and have dinner and watch a movie and stuff. But let's see. Oh wait, that's it. That was it. It was Don from Robbinsdale on drums, Donnie Larson on bass, and Jimmy Johnson and Ray Berg on guitar. Yeah, that's a group. Yeah. That's the ones I first saw when they're playing these little berets and stuff. And all the girls were watching it. I thought, well.
You mentioned you couldn't believe it. It's all original music and how good they were.
Listen, I've been on a few times to listen to bands playing what they call original music here in the cities. I'm sorry. maybe I'm biased, but I don't understand it. You could understand every word they sang. Because sometimes you go out and hear these new groups, you can't understand what they're saying. There's 3 reasons to like a song. Obviously, the beat. That's pretty simple. The message. What are you trying to tell me? What story are you trying to tell me? Let me get into it. Or the melody. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody writing melody anymore. Very few. And you can't understand what they're singing. I don't know if it's enunciation, maybe my bad hearing. But if I can't, then it's hard for me to get into the song. We grew up listening. What was the lyric? I mean, being in the band was hell back when we had record players, because if your record player wasn't going 33 in the third, you had a hell of a time figuring out what key the song was in. And then you play it over and over. Well, what was he saying there? What was he saying there? And you move the needle back. Today you can go on Google. What are the lyrics to? Boom, there they are.
Yeah. So you guys did it the hard way, which
Yeah.
is the right way.
Well, I don't know if
Because,
it's the right way. It was the only way we could do it at the time.
well, you have ownership in it, right? Because you had to work to find that out, and then you
Yeah.
work to perfect it. Now
Yeah.
you're still playing. You're at a
Yes.
local place called The Lookout in April, if you want to
Yeah,
plug
April
that.
21st. That's a wonderful event for, we raise money for military families. And last year, I think we raised like $7,000, if I'm not
Oh, nice.
mistaken. I think that's right. And we play, it'd be the Sunday after Easter. Thank you for the plug. Sunday after Easter, um, at the Lookout, that'd be April 21st. There'll be another band there. A guy writes his own music. He's really funny. He's called Papa Bear. And he writes these folk country stuff, but he can understand him. His stories are hilarious. He's got a good voice. He's a lot of fun. And normally there's 2 or 3 bands that also play there, but they have backed out with members sick or members passing away as we're all getting older. And so the group that I play with is called All About the Music. We'll be playing from about 2 o'clock till about 5 o'clock, 2 or 3 sets. So,
Check them out. The Lookout is a fun place to be. They've got good food there too, and it's a
excellent food.
worthy cause. You get to see Art. Everybody tell Art you saw him on the podcast, and just let you know you appreciate what he's doing. So in Vietnam, you perfected your guitar skills. I know when I called you up the other night, you were still working on your guitar.
I set the basics in, learning the chords, doing the finger exercises and stuff. And when I get home, I did. In fact, I didn't play guitar when I came home. I played bass because that was what I was most proficient at, where I could jump in and go. There used to be a business called Musicians Referral Service. Zippy Kaplan, who wound up being with the Escapades, and I think a couple. He's got a new group too, a surfing group. I can't remember what it's called, but
The Litter, wasn't he in the
yeah, he
Litter?
was in the litter here. Exactly right. And he
Fabulous.
wound up working with a bunch of guys called the Musicians Referral Service. It was off 28th and Hennepin. You'd go in and no computers in those days, so you'd fill out a profile. Here's what you play. Here's the kind of music you like. Can you work nights? Blah, all this stuff. And they'd put
Yeah.
it in there. And you paid a fee, and you get to look at the jobs that were available, who was looking for what. And I got a job through that turned out to be a big horn group, which is kind of fun, called Gallery. And we had a full horn section. It's kind of fun. And that was the only way that I could get back in music, being bass, because I could jump right and do it. So I played probably till disco era. And then realized, actually, the love of my life made me realize that I couldn't play music the rest of my life. I need to go back to school, which I did. Graduated. And I didn't play music again from about 1975 or 76 until maybe the 90s. The guitar just sat in the case, didn't touch anything. And then I went up to a Super Bowl party for a friend that I played a lot of sports with. And he was also a musician. He had a little sound studio. He went for a Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl halftime came out. Like, horrible game, boring halftime show. So he said, "Let's go jam." So we went. He played drums, he played bass, he played guitar. And he said, "Well, I'll play drums, you play guitar." That was ugly. So I made a vow to myself that, well, we'll do it next year. So that I took the guitar out, and that's when I started playing again, about 1990 maybe again. And it took me a while to get back. The interesting thing about it, though, for all those musicians out there, if you're having trouble thinking, or people, when I first started picking up the guitar and started playing again, it would take me a month, 5, 6 weeks to get through a song, get every chord right, get every verse right. Okay. And my ear wasn't real good, but sitting on the sofa every night practicing, I got to the point now I can learn a new song in maybe 5 or 6 minutes. In the interim, back then when I started learning, I thought, oh, what was that chord? I forgot this, I forget this, I forget this. Well, since now I have a practice list of about 250 songs that I play a few every night, from the top, the bottom, and the middle, kind of working out. And I remember them all, and my memory's sharp again. So I think, as well as trying to keep our bodies toned we need to keep our minds sharp. Just sitting in front of the TV is not good education. Read, play checkers, sew, whatever, do something. Don't vegetate. I gave up 14, 15 years of my life to PTSD. And that's why I stay in shape, because I decided after I went through that I'm going to put that 15 years on the end of my life.
Good. frame of mind is important. You mentioned that you are playing with this, the name of the band. Tell me the name of the band again.
It's called All About the Music.
All About the Music.
Former musicians that played all kinds of different bands. In fact, the funny thing about it is, between the drummer, bass player's name is Pete Boone, and he was in a group back in the with two female lead singers called the New Generation, big horn group, big show group. And the drummer Gary Ossifer, they played in a different group with another Robbinsdale guys, Kurt Hartwickson, bless his soul, who's passed on as a good guitar player, played with them. And he got the idea that he wanted to start a group that played all kinds of different music. We country western, we do Frank Sinatra, we do the Doors, we do the Beatles, we do Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, everything, just all about the music. So he got the idea that he has a bunch of grandchildren. He related to the Daniel Boone family and the Boone whiskey makers in Kentucky. And they all come up every year for a big Boone reunion, and we always play it. It's just a lot of fun. So he got the idea that some of his grandchildren are too young to remember. So he decided that he wanted to record. And so we've recorded about 5 or 6 CDs. Really, the purpose is not to selling or to giving to anybody, but for his grandchildren. So that when he's older, yeah. So, so we do one of this song, one of that song, one of that song. And then I've also played a few times the Steve Miller and the Duckhunts and the Miller Brothers, probably one of the better groups in Twin Cities around. I don't do that anymore, but I did for a while. And then I had a group was also with Ray Berg, was in the Underbeats, called Flashback. But the problem with playing music that we play at our age is there's no place to play anymore. Most of the places are VFWs and Legions, and those are slowly closing. In fact, I have some friends who play in the Teddy Bear Band, who also play nursing homes, doing 40s and 50s and 60s, not for the money, to play music because they love it. And it's wonderful to see some little old lady back in the corner rocking around to Shaboom Shaboom or something,
Those little old ladies, Art, that they're playing to, those grandmas were pretty hot back in the day with the.
We all had our day.
Yeah, we all did.
Was that Our Day Will Come? Our Day Will Come?
Our Day Will Come.
Who did it? The Romantics.
The Romantics. You can't just throw it at me without giving me time to think. But
I didn't answer right. I didn't want you to think.
Yeah. Music is very important to you and me. I did the music trivia games and all that stuff, and I think that's part of how our friendship started. We quiz each other and all that stuff. But
well, I'm on one of your little cards from the.
You're a wrong answer. And
a wrong answer.
Record, I had an old time friend. I grew up with him, who contacted me the other day. He said he wanted to reconnect, which is great. And he said, "Rick, where can I get your game?" And I said, "Well, it's out of print. You can go on Amazon, for the record." And so I sent him a link, and he found it. He texted me back, and he said how excited he is to find it. He's going to play with his wife, and he's one of my oldest friends, and music just brought us back together, with him contacting me for that game. I would have loved to have given him a game, but I don't have any left. So
I still have mine autographed by someone named Rick Reed. And
well, it devalued it. I used to do that so the people couldn't return them back to the stores.
I have, and funny you should say, we have a common friend, Jimmy DeFeo.
Yeah.
Jimmy's a character, and you should get him on your pod.
I'd love to.
He's funny here. But we get each other small, meaningless gifts. I remember for Christmas one year, he's a piano player. Well, Jimmy plays piano, plays saxophone, plays flute, plays clarinet. He's learning guitar. He paints. He sculpts. He's just a Renaissance man, okay? Just a great guy. And I was going to point the story, and I totally forgot about it.
One thing, Art, at our age, we have carte blanche at saying, "It'll come to me." And then later on, at 2 a.m, just call me, because I'll probably be up using the bathroom anyway, because that's what we want to do at our age.
I picture memory as this little guy. He's kind of balding on top and sides, and gray hair fuzzy out. He's got these little reading glasses on. He's got this white shirt on with a tie open down here. He's got the sleeves rolled up. He's got baggy pants and shoes on. And he's standing in front of this huge bookcase, maybe 16, 15 feet tall, as far as you can see. And he's got this little ladder, and he goes, "Name of the show." Nope. And all of a sudden he finds it and you go, oh yeah, 2 a.m. Yeah, that's right. It was that guy, But yeah,
Jimmy
so
Fail. He's a
Jimmy
Renaissance
DeFeo,
man.
the Renaissance man. He really is. Jimmy and I just went out, and Jimmy can't drive at night anymore. He's trouble with his eyes, so I pick him up
Yeah,
once in a while. We go out to dinner. And there was a point for the story why I brought him up, and I totally cannot remember what it is.
that's okay. It's okay. That's
Yeah.
what we do. That's all we do. Now, the last time I saw you at the Lookout, you had me video your performance. Somehow we got through the technology where I could get you a copy of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I think we have it figured out now. So
yeah.
if you want me to video you anymore, I can do that. I'll come out
Wonderful.
there.
Yeah, wonderful. Maybe if you come out to the Lookout, there's a certain song that I may want to do. I have I don't want to really go into much detail, but the love of my life and I have reconnected after about 50 years. And I'm not going to mention her name or anything like that. But
Mhm.
that particular song that we did was You Send Me. And so I wanted to get it to her because she wanted to be there but couldn't be there.
Yep.
So yeah, she was the one the third leg that got me through stuff because I was pretty bitter at that time. I had gotten a Dear John in Vietnam and just was very bitter about women, bitter about life. Everyone that I had stayed at home was doing well, and here I am. I'm not, what am I? What was the sacrifice for? So I was pretty bitter and pretty angry. And she's just the type of person that just loving and caring and friendly, just fun to be with, gorgeous, but didn't have that attitude. I mean, she was just, and I was just so messed up at the time. Basically, I didn't like myself because of what I'd been through and some of the things I'd had to do. And so consequently, I didn't have very much self-confidence, and I couldn't believe in me, and I couldn't believe that this beautiful woman would love me, and have maybe the strength, as she said in later years, that I didn't realize she had to help me get through that.
God bless Ray Berg. You introduced me to him, and I
Mhm.
really like Ray. He's a
He's a
good
character.
guy. He's a
He
good
is a
guy.
very
You better be
wonderful.
watching this. Art's doing a podcast with me,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful.
Just remember, Ray, they cut out all the bad stuff I said about you, okay?
He had to pay me some extortion money.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. No, he's still plays guitar. He and his wife do commercials, and he built a sound booth in his basement so they can do voiceovers for commercials. So even
Oh,
to
that's
this day,
awesome.
he's still staying in kind of entertainment, so to speak.
Attaboy, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the Miller brothers.
Talented family. At one time, and I think I got this right, and correct me, Steve, if you see this and I got it wrong, but the Miller brothers originally was Steve Miller on guitar, Al Miller on guitar, Tim Miller on bass. What was Tony Miller? I think played keyboard or something. So they were all, and these guys are good. I mean, Steve is still one of the best guitar players in the Twin Cities. Still one of the best cover bands out there. There's so many stories. Marsh Edelstein had a booking agency called Marsh Productions. Great guy. And I got a funny story about him maybe some other time. But anyway, so Steve tells a story about how Marsh came to them and said, after they recorded Let the Good Times Roll, he said, I have a record I want you guys got to do this stuff. No, we want to do this Young Rascal song called What Is the Reason? Marsh says, no, you guys can make a hit with this. No, we don't want to record it. So they recorded What Is the Reason, which became a minor play, maybe top 20 here locally. I'm not sure, maybe top 10. And the song they didn't record was Gloria, that the Shadow of Nights in Chicago did a horrible job of and made a #1 hit of it. So, you never know where it's going to lead. Marsh is a great guy.
I had the pleasure of, because of mutual friend Sharon, at your high school reunion.
Oh, Sharon Johnson, yes.
Yes, we got to hear you and the Millers play, and keyboard player.
Dave Mrocek.
Yes,
In
Jurassic.
1968, there used to be a local magazine called the Connie's Insider. And it was all about the local bands, just the local bands, St. Paul, Minnesota, and outstate Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's late 67, the Del Collins played a concert at the Met Center, which is no longer there. They opened for the Young Rascals, or no, the Hollies. I'm sorry, the Hollies. And Dave was one of the first gigs he played with the Del Counts there, because he replaced Charles, because Charles had got drafted in the Army. Charles and I were down at Fort Campbell, Kentucky at the same time. I ran into him in the PX. And so he went into the group to replace Charles, who was playing keyboard at that time, because he'd gotten off guitar, and Steve was playing guitar now, and Bob Phelan, I think, was playing bass. And he sang a song that night, and I can't remember who the reviewer was, but I gave the magazine to Dave because it's about him, and it says, tonight that the reviewer said, I heard the nicest, cleanest, most beautiful voice in the Twin Cities tonight at a concert with Dave Mrocek. So yeah, Dave is now down in Phoenix. He moved down there, and he's down there pretty much. And as I understand it from a number of alumni and other musicians at Phoenix, it's just a hotbed for boomer bands, because so many boomers retire down there. So he's playing in the top. I heard that he's playing in one of the top cover bands down there in Phoenix. That's because he's just an excellent musician and a great guy.
Yeah. Dave Mrocek, he made me smile just watching him, because he's got a demeanor on stage.
Yes,
and I just went, I like this guy. He's a good guy. So Dave, you better be watching this too.
Well, and like I remember, it's Steve Miller has a party every year. Now you've been there. And a lot of the local musicians come back, and they'll put together a band. Now, maybe a band comes back, and the bass player passed away, so they got another bass player sitting in there, and they just play music to dance to and listen to. And it's just a fantastic. And I remember one of the first times up there that I ever played there with Steve at the party. I got up the microphone and I said, I've known Steve all my life, and I got all kinds of stories about him. And he's back, no. And I said, but honestly, they're all good. I've known Steve since 1961, and I've never ever heard him say a bad word about anybody. The worst he'll ever say him like this, I might say, well, that guy's a jerk, and Steve will go, well, and that'd be it, So he's just he and Mrocek are very similar that way, and I think that's why they could play in the same group again, because there was no egos there. They both knew they were talented, and they could play together.
The reunion was very fun. I have to say that. And you mentioned Phoenix is a hotbed for oldies bands, boomer bands. We went to go visit Dan Vikstrom in Mission, Texas. And Dan had told me that there's one original member of the Castaways left, and he plays down there.
Denny Craswell. Yeah, he's a drummer. Yeah. Most of the other guys have passed away. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
We're coming to the end of another episode, Art. Thanks for sharing your knowledge of the local music scene and then and now. Very important that we recognize the history of the music here, because the Twin Cities was a hotbed in the 60s. And it's nice that some of the guys are still around and still want to play, like to play. And if they can find a place wherever it is, DFW, Legion, or a nursing home, God bless them for playing. Because there's nothing like live music.
No, there isn't. It's kept me alive and kept me, well, what I call sane anyway.
Art, I want you to come back. Thanks for being on my Boomer Buddies podcast. I've wanted you to be on here for a while, so I'm glad we were able to catch you free to do this. So thank you, Art.
I hope it was worth your time.
It was.
All right. Take care.
On behalf of Art, I'm Rick Reed, my Boomer Buddies podcast, and we'll see you around the block.
I've been there.
Here's an added bonus. Art Dean and some of his Robbinsdale High School reunion band mates playing for you. Goes out with other guys, the moral in the story from the guy. A well among I said, maybe like she keep away from the rolling around. So I said, got to know what this girl. We're gonna hear from Steve Miller now. We appreciate you watching and listening. If you like this, share it with a friend. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you.